Hello, this is Simon Chilembo here. Today, as we continue talking about my books, we touch an interesting aspect that's about religion, God in African politics, in African autocratic systems of government. I'll read a passage from my fifth book, Machona Blogs, as I see it. When I was at my lowest, in about the second year of my unintended 5-year stay in South Africa between 2013 and 2018, it was a very dark period and very difficult. At the same time, fun, because I was in my head playing, with possible scenarios of how this could end. Then one day I get a visit from three of some of my nearest people in South Africa. Their mission was to impose upon me this great idea that they had arising from what they knew about me. That was cool. They suggested that I form a church, evangelical church, because I had, according to them, what it takes to form such a church. They emphasized that it had become very clear that my political opinions that I've expressed through that I had already begun to express through my writings had made me unpopular in certain powerful quarters in South Africa. And they had reliable information that this unpopularity of mine extends beyond the borders of South Africa. What that meant was that really, chances of my getting into, the big time of politics and business in South Africa were very small, because these powerful forces were there, making it, set to make it impossible for me to get access to these to opportunities in these two fields. And were I to seek to get into politics, I would probably be killed. Oh, that was wow. I wasn't aware. Well, I thank them for their concern and support and love, and while I agree with them that I know that I do have what it takes to tomorrow open a church and declare myself some pastor and come up with the idea of having seen the light at last. God chose me, He has chosen me to come and lead the people to heaven and all that. I know the psychology of this thing, but I'm not cut out for it. It doesn't appeal to me. And in any case, in my writings, when I write out unpopular opinions about Africa, about Africans, the politics, God is in the picture as well. And so in that case, then I'm unpopular to God as well. So there's no point in my going out to pretend that suddenly I'm a servant of God, and they say, no man, that's not the point. The point is that Simon, people who are not even half as intelligent as you are, they're making it big, in this business, they are multimillionaires, and all, so you have a great chance now, to really go into big time. These people were so convinced in their own heads, that this was my calling. I'm just turning, my back on it. Did I have anything to fear? It's God, calling out. I said, no, if I have a calling, It's that, I do what I do. I write. I think and I write. I express my views as they come. I write what I feel. And when I write, I'm not intentionally writing to provoke, to agitate. People decide how they want to use my writings. I just write how I feel, and that's what I do. Being what I am, the way I'm wired, in my head. People swim the coldest seas. People, travel the world. People travel the world, chasing pussy and dick, and that's what people do. And people do bungee jumpings, and people do what they do. I write books, I write poetry. That's what I do. That's me. From my book, Machona Blogs, as I see it, I'm going to read a piece that I've written about Africa and God. This is chapter 20, Dictator's Paradise. African despots are exactly at a place they ought to be on earth. Africa is a natural haven for autocratic rulers. As reportedly the oldest people on earth, Africans must for generations have persevered and survived such awesome battering from nature that fear of and reverence for authority come as second nature to them. So, if you are a person of ethical standards and moral values divergent from definition of the same in the progressive world of freedom, justice and democracy, you have a free hand to dominate and destroy your land and your people's natural aspirations for prosperity and infinite prospects for all-round growth. Just be atrocious and effective in dealing with those of your people reluctant to acknowledge and follow your pathetic rule and leadership style. Kill them in cold blood and feed their corpses to the dogs. Much like nature in the beginning and subsequent conquerors from other parts of the world, colonizers, did before your time. It works all the time. If your land lacks any especially value-adding material and other attributes to the rest of the world, nobody will give a hoot. Africans truly love their culture. Primitive, timeless culture. The oldest instrument of social organization and control on earth. A culture which remained static and close-minded while the rest of mankind later moved on, finding ever new and better ways of organizing society and providing for its basic needs as effectively and as efficiently as possible. It is, in fact, this adamant adherence to obsolete elements of this slow, non-changing culture in modern times that is attributable to the prevalence of blatantly arrogant, defiant, and sustained human rights abuses across Africa. It's really simple to have and assume power in Africa, as facilitated by archaic aspects of African culture. Just be special, for example. Just do something so special and extraordinary that it sets you apart from the rest of your contemporaries and counterparts. Though not necessarily an absolute prerequisite, you can start first by being born number one child in your family. Have your position and its attendant privileges explained and justified as a God-given right according to the prescriptions of your ancestors. The stage is set then. In Africa, God by definition is an extension of and larger than nature, larger than life. Ancestors are intermediaries between God and nature. So, what this Holy Trinity has designed and put in place, let no man put asunder, lest God supermean lightning strikes. No one knows and dreads the wrath of God more than an African. The Bible, for all intents and purposes, may well have originally been written with Africans in mind. The likes of David Livingstone's bosses understood this well, perhaps. Africa, uniting poverty and misery in the name of God as inscribed in your obsolete primitive culture. To consolidate your position as a dictator in Africa, you must use God and ancestral spirits to the maximum. If you cannot exhibit supernatural abilities and talents, surround yourself with loyalists who can do all this on your behalf. Just make sure to have something on them such that they cannot turn against you. Deal instantly with razor-sharp, effective and precise brutality against even the slightest sign of disloyalty. Rule by extreme fear, just like God. Act and behave exactly like the chosen one sent by God to save the people on earth from undoings of their own inherently evil nature. Amen. And then there is the dependency syndrome, so endemic in African culture. Patronage is therefore fertile ground here. When you are special and extraordinary by virtue of certain unique attributes about you, you may have been born in royalty and or great wealth, African culture will put you on a pedestal. If you are a power and adulation freak, this is just the place for you, dictator. Reward your fans accordingly and never forget to have strings on them, for they are your God-given puppets. Sustain this and your position is guaranteed for life. Elections? What's that? Since your position is very safe, given the fact that you have no real threat, because if they are not all dead and fed to the crocodiles, many of your serious and real detractors have fled from their beloved land. You'll perform an elaborate symbolic show of credible, free and fair elections for the naive world watching from abroad. Dependency syndrome destroys a people's self-reliance, potential growth, development and practice. People grow up with the knowledge and taking it for granted that someone more resourceful and stronger will always cover up for their own shortcomings and shortfalls. Guardian angels. People grow up knowing little or nothing at all about taking charge of their own lives or becoming responsible for the directions of destiny their own lives will take in the long run. They grow up believing that the world owes it to them to make it all right for them always. These people go through life dreaming, hoping, believing, and expecting that, for example, my father will buy me a farm one day, he promised. Or the government must give me a job and a house soon. I supported Mandela, you know. Oh, another one. My sister is a doctor. She'll give me the money I need, no problem. And the president is an uncle of my friend's wife's stepsister on the mother's side of the great-grandfather's 10th wife's second cousin. So we'll get the tender, the business deal, hopefully. Another one. Ish, if my ex gets a place for me at a university overseas, you can talk to your brother to talk to the bank for a ticket bucks. Ne? It's quite cheap these days, you know. Someone told me they read somewhere that somebody said something about South African Airways scholarships. On and on and on and on. God, I'm getting a headache. These are some of the most valuable people as potential loyal supporters of African autocratic rulers. Play with tenets of outdated African culture. For example, fear, revere God, ancestors, the high and mighty kings, queens, and others, no matter what. Entice and entangle them in the ruler's patronage net. Game done. Enduring death of democracy in ever backsliding autocratic Africa into the box. Signed, sealed, and delivered. Hallelujah. My books are available on Amazon.com. In South Africa, in Southern Africa, they are also available on loot.co.za. On my blog, Chilembo Warrior Moves, or simply chilembo.com, there's a page describing all the 6 books of mine so far. If you are in Oslo, if you are in Norway, you can order the books directly from me and I'll sign them. Thank you for watching. Before you go, thank you for watching. And if you like the stuff that I do on the channel here, please subscribe. Please help me grow the channel by subscribing. That gives me motivation and inspiration to want to do more work here. I need your support. Your support is very valuable indeed. I'll see you soon with another presentation. Peace.